This section in Algebra 2 is titled the discriminant. The discriminant is simply the radicand in the quadratic formula. If you remember, the quadratic formula is equal to x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2 times a. We're simply going to work with the radicand, the b squared minus 4ac. That is known as the discriminant. We only take the radicand. We don't bring the radical with us. We're not going to take the square root of these numbers. We're simply going to study the discriminant for what it tells us about the roots of the equation. When b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0 and a perfect square, then the roots of the equation are real, rational, and unequal, and there are 2 of them. When the discriminant is greater than 0, or another way to say that is positive, and not a perfect square, there are still 2 roots, however now they are irrational. When the discriminant is equal to 0, then there's 1 root. In some cases, you'll see it in some books saying there are 2 and they are equal, but they are identical, so that another way to say it is that there's just 1. When the discriminant is less than 0, or another way to say that is it's negative, then there are no real roots. There are 0 real roots. This is going to lead us in a few days to our discussion of the square root of a negative number being an imaginary number. When the discriminant is positive, greater than 0, and there are 2 roots, it's crossing the x-axis in 2 places. When the parabola simply touches the x-axis, it sits on it, but it doesn't cross it, then there's only 1 real root. It could sit on the x-axis curved up or curved down, but that means there's only 1 real root. This is when the discriminant is equal to 0. When the parabola does not touch the x-axis at all, I call it floating. It's either floating above or below the x-axis, never touches it. That's when your discriminant is negative and there are 0 real roots. So let's find the discriminant. Put your equation in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. If you like, you can stop and write down what a is. For this one, a is equal to negative 3, b is equal to 6, and c is equal to negative 3. Okay, all we have to do is figure out b squared minus 4ac. B squared is going to be 6 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times negative 3. 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. 36 minus 36. The discriminant is equal to 0. That tells us that this particular parabola is touching the x-axis. It's not crossing in two places, and it's not floating above or below. Let's do one more. Sometimes your equation does not have all three parts. Your equation might be negative 4v squared plus 10v. Let's write down what A is. A is negative A is negative 4. B is 10. And C is 0. All right, let's calculate b squared minus 4ac. B squared is 10 squared minus 4 times negative 4 times 0. Well, anything times 0 is going to be 0. 10 squared is 100 minus 0 gives us 100 for our discriminant.